Orange Shirt Day Awareness. September 30th is a day that opens the door to global conversations on all aspects of residential schools. It is a day aimed at creating meaningful discussions about the effects of residential schools and the impacts they have left behind. Orange Shirt Day was inspired by the story told by Phyllis Jack Webstad and how she was stripped of her orange shirt on her first day of residential school in 1973. After this, Phyllis associated the color orange with the impacts the residential school had on her. After she first told her story, Orange Shirt Day was launched in 2013 in William Lake, BC, to commemorate all the residential school survivors. Today, Phyllis is the executive director of the Orange Shirt Society and tours the country telling her story and raising awareness about the impacts of the residential school system. She has now published 2 books, The Orange Shirt Story and The Phyllis Orange Shirt for Younger Children. Why was September 30th chosen? It was chosen for the significance of the school year. It is this time of year in which children were taken from their homes to residential schools. And because it is an opportunity to set the stage for anti-racism and anti-bullying policies for the coming school year. It is an opportunity for First Nations, local governments, schools, and communities to come together in spirit of reconciliation. So on September 30th, we wear orange to show our support.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Good morning.
All good? Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, like Kimberly said, today's Orange Shirt Day, and it's a big part of our history for Native people, First Nations people throughout Canada and the United States, which we call Turtle Island. So it has affected a bunch of us people, as Native people, the history of our residential school traumas and whatever happened. And to this day, it's still happening. It's still affecting our people and the young ones too. So when we do something like this day, we have this special day in honor of this day and all the people that never made it home, the children that never made it home, and the ones that did. They're still suffering today from the trauma that they experienced. So because of that, we honor that. We honor this day. And as Native people, we always like to open things with a prayer in honor for these people. We go through a prayer and song. So, and back home, where I come from the Siksika Nation, Treaty 7 territory, where we have the Bloods, the Piegan, the Siksika, and the Blackfoot in Montana. So when someone prays, you greet their prayer. You take it in to your heart. That's how we greet our prayers. So I asked my a good friend of mine, Marcelo, I asked him to do an opening prayer for us today. I thought it would be really unique. He's a good man, and he knows how to speak from his heart. So Marcelo?
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, it's nice or good thing to start with prayer as we celebrate this National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. Lee has requested me to use the foreign language, and our God knows everything, so he understands. So let's pray with me. Madayaw ka, manakabalin, ay apo mi ay Diyos, ay watad daya, nangamag silangit yadaga, yadin ipugaw. Sigahin na marswat, tawaday mga iwan sindaga, yamandayaw ang siga. Tumangat kami yan siga, taparaburan da kami, udwani kas masilibrar nan agaw di truth and reconciliation, sinan nasyon di Canada, ya sinudumay lugar. Kada din tutuwa ya panakikapya ket matungpal, sinbiag mi ay ipugaw, ket waday panagpakawan, panagbalbaliw yalayad sin biag di Isaya usa. Lalo da din nangamag silawa sinwadas residential schools ay panang parigat ya panang possessin o being ay inosente ay bunat di indigenous ay pugaw sinan Canada ya sinudumay lugar. Agasam kadi yay daw tam silayad pigsa namnama dadin nasaktan ay rikna dadin masignan ay amaya inna ay iba dadanan mantuloy da ay manbiag ay manserbiyan sika. Ipabiyang mi abahan sika o Dios ay namarswa din biag di ubing ay nagnatay at idi sin residential schools tansika di makamu si amin. Madayaw ka o Dios singga na manyaman kami dan mantultuloy ay waday indigenous peoples ay kadwami ay mandayaw ng sika. Sapay kuma takas masilibrar nan agaw di truth and reconciliation manas usa di Canada ya indigenous people ya pati anda kami amin sina. Waday maadalmi sina ay okasyon din presensyam mariknami kumatawaday ragsak mi amin ay wadas na. Sinay di kararag ya dawat mi baban sinagan Jesu Kristo ay apumi. Amen.
Normally I would get our fellow co-worker Brett. Brett is not here with us this week and he's got stuff he's got to deal with. I would get him to sing us a song, a drum song. And it's an honor song. So because he's not here, we're gonna play a video, an honor song video for all the children that didn't make it home and all that. So an honor song, I ask that you respect this song, open your hearts, think about all the children that didn't come home, and you know, if it moves you, let your spirit move. Next, I would like to call up Ashford, do a presentation and just to elaborate more on what this day means to us, and you know, give you guys more education on what it is. So, Ashford.
Morning. Everybody hear me? I decided to get up here and talk today because my kids had asked me about this day and I couldn't answer them, you know? I just couldn't give them a straight answer. And I kind of understood, but I sometimes don't have a straight answer when people ask why. Like, there's many reasons why this happened. And today is called Truth and Reconciliation Day. And the truth part, you know, most people ain't really ready for. It's this thing called cognitive dissonance that a lot of people have when it comes to this. Cognitive dissonance is when you have two conflicting beliefs in your head, and we both have them on each side, you know. And I think the overall goal of Truth and Reconciliation Day, it's not truth for now because we're not all ready for it. It's pretty hard stuff to happen. And the reconciliation part is the definition of reconciliation is to restore friendly relations, become compatible, like with one another. But the one I like is to like make one account consistent, and that's the truth part. I think, you know, if we can get to that part, you know, we'd be ready to hear everything, I think. And like it was just it's just not residential school. It's like a colonial legacy against the indigenous people. And like the residential school is a big part of it, you know, but it branches off into other things like the 60s scoop, and like missing and murdered indigenous women, and like just the overall treatment of the indigenous peoples, you know. And like I think it was in 2008, Harper had apologized to us, and then like people were like, aren't they happy with that? You know, they got an apology and stuff. And well, my thought about that was like, if I did something wrong to Lee and I said I'm sorry, you know, but if I continued with that behavior, am I still, you know, am I sorry? Did my apology mean anything? And so, you know, that's where we're at. And then there was these like a Truth and Reconciliation Commission established when these stories started coming out to like get together all the accounts of residential school survivors and stuff like that, and see what could be done about it. And then so they made a summary report back in 2015, I think it was. A summary report in 2015 with 94 calls to action or recommendations. And that's just 94 things that Canada, like businesses, employers, the government, but most of all individuals can do, you know, to help this situation and people understand. And an example would be like one call to action is like a chance for equal education and employment for indigenous peoples, and like healthcare and just basic stuff. When I read this stuff, I was kind of insulted, you know. I was like, why can't they just give us these basic things, you know? It's not much. And so, but number 80 of it was today. You know, they wanted a day set aside so people can find out about this stuff, you know. And like I have a difficult time talking about all of this, so I just decided to play a video, some survivors' account of it and what today is, and the video will play here. So we'll go.
I was 6 years old when they took me to a residential school. I remember the day walking toward that school with my mother, and it was a silent walk. I was so afraid. 20 or 30 little kids herded into the showers, and then your body being painted in white liquid of some kind, your hair cropped and then doused in kerosene. And that was pretty traumatizing. The school held roughly 220 people, half boys, half girls, and we were segregated. If I was caught waving at my sister, there'd be a punishment for it. And so, as a result of that segregation, I never really learned any social skills that young people should be learning as they grow up. From a religious and spiritual perspective, of course, the churches lobbied hard to convert indigenous people, Aboriginal people. They said that we were heathen and pagan. They targeted language in those things we had learned through all of millennia, to know where we came from, to know who we were, as something that had to be eliminated. Before that time, I lived in a place called Guayastums. They call it Guilford Island now. We harvested from the forest all of the animals that we needed to provide us sustenance. And from the ocean in front of us as well, all of the species of whales and mink and fish. And I had a connection to the environment around us. And so after having spent years in those schools, by the time we were ready to leave, most of us were pretty broken. Many of us, including myself, descended into addictions, alcoholism, violence, and it was pretty difficult. Those schools lasted for over 100 years. There were over 150,000 little children. And the last school that closed in Canada was in 1996 in Saskatchewan. there was a history on this land that had been absolutely ignored. Nobody knew about the residential school legacy. Nobody knew about the intent of the Indian Act, the chronic challenges now facing Aboriginals. And we're starting to accept the idea that we have this shared history for which we all are responsible for. When the Truth and Reconciliation Commission report was submitted, I was in the room when Justice Murray Sinclair, the chair of the commission, denounced Canada. He had just recited a litany of intensive harms against Aboriginal people. And when he said, Canada, you have committed cultural genocide, there was just a silence in that room, and then all of a sudden it erupted in euphoria. We said, survivors want an apology from the Prime Minister in the House of Commons. And I was there and I heard the words, I'm sorry, and then I couldn't see because my eyes were just flowing with tears. I was so happy that somebody had said, I'm sorry. Canada, by the way, is the only Western country that has had a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So we're trying to look through a new lens. We and Canadians, we as an Aboriginal, we celebrate each other, everybody cheering each other up as we move toward a more equal, prosperous future for all of us. My name is Chief Robert Joseph, and I believe that truth and reconciliation is Canada.
Curious about what they can do to contribute to a day like today. The only thing I could suggest would be maybe to read those 94, calls to action, recommendations, and try to put them into your everyday life. 'Cause that's all we can really do is try to include one another. And because of all this stuff, us natives have been referred to as resilient. Resiliency is the ability to come back from toughness or difficult situation quickly, and I don't know. I think we are all a little tired of being resilient. We want our future generations to not have to be resilient, to be included in everything, And I think the overall goal of this is, I learned the essence of absolution. Absolution is to be to be forgave, to live guilt-free. And I think we need that on both sides, because both sides feel like they're at fault. They don't want to admit it, but they both do. We wonder what we did, what we were guilty of. So we want to be free, absolved from that. And I think the other side does too, with all these apologies and giving us our day and stuff like that. So there isn't really much to go on today because it is the first one, And out of those 94 calls to action, this was number 80. And I think, it was one of the very, very few that were honored, The majority of those 94 haven't been honored yet. So probably, because we have this day today and people are aware of the 94 calls to action, people can start implementing into their everyday life. And, we'll be on the way to the reconciliation part. That's all I got. Thank you.
I want to tell you guys a story. It's kind of a legend. It's a story, and this is how it goes. A long time ago, when us people, native people, we used to live in teepees, and we had hard times. We had tough times. We also had battles we had to go through for our lands and all that stuff. So there was a small tribe in the American side, the US side. At that time we were all one. That's why we call it Turtle Island, because we were all one as First Nations throughout Turtle Island. So there was this small tribe, it was called the Apache tribe. And in that tribe, there was a young woman and a young man. They just got married. They were very happy. They had a big celebration in the camp, and they were really in love. And then there was word coming from somewhere, from the scouts. We used to have scouts that roamed the territory for any enemies that are coming. So the scouts came in, and they said, there's people coming. We have to go into battle. We have to protect our lands. So, and how it works on a tribe is all the young men, all the men, the warriors, they get together and they go out. And the old, the young, and the sick stay home in the camp. So they got together, they had this meeting and said, yeah, we're gonna go out. We're gonna go fight these people for our camp. We're gonna save our camp. We're gonna save our people. And the wife, the newlywed wife, told her husband, no, you can't go. She said, we just got married. They were so in love, they didn't want to leave each other. She pleaded, she cried, she wanted him to stay because she loved him so much. He told her, I have to go. I'm a warrior of this tribe, I have to go. I have to do my job. And he told her, don't worry, everything will be okay. I'll send you a message that I'm okay. So they went out into battle. The wife was worried about him. 3 days went by. 4th day went by. No word, nothing. She was worried, so she set out to go look for him in the battlefield. She came over this hill and she saw that her whole tribe of warriors were dead. They died. They lost the battle. So she went looking for her husband. She looked all over on the ground and she found him. He was on the ground dead. She knelt over him. She cried and cried and cried. She told me it'd give me a message, everything would be okay. And look where you are. So as she cried, her tears fell onto his face and hit the ground. She kept crying, and then when she got up, finally she noticed that the tears turned into a black stone. So she picked up those stones and she started walking back to camp. She was rubbing those stones as she was walking back crying. And she stopped and she looked at one of the stones. And she looked at it, she was examining it. And the black stone, she was able to see through it. She saw light through it. So that was her message. Everything is going to be okay. So as Native people, when we tell a story, there's always a message to the story. So you're given a stone today, and that stone is called the Apache tear. That's the tear of that woman who cried for her husband. So this gift is for you guys today. And the message is, you know, we all come from different places. We all come from the east, west, north, south. We've all been through hard times in our life. And even some of us are still going through hard times. So I just want to say to you guys, never give up. Always strive to be your best. Always keep going. If you have any hard times in your life, remember the story. Remember the stone. There's always light through darkness. So that's my gift to you guys today. Okay? Also, we got some donations. We're gonna do a spin thing.
What is there?
You're a lucky guy. You have to dance. Okay. Next one.
Ahmed.
Thank you very much. Picture?
So the next one we're going to do is this black hoodie. It's got a nice beaded lanyard on it. Looks pretty good on me. Good job. So yeah, this is the next item for So we got, next one we have a nice pullover sweater. It's not a hoodie. And it's also got a beaded lanyard. So good luck.
I know. Nicole.